Yeah, be sure and sign in before you leave.
Oops. Okay, David.
All right, good morning, everyone. It's 9:05 a.m. on August 18th of 2020. We're here for our budget hearing. Melinda has gone through and filled in lots of the information we need to have, so she's gonna provide it to us. I know on, excuse me, I know on the notice, it says to approve the proposed salaries of elected officials for publication. We're gonna do that, but we're gonna go to item 2 first because there has been some changes in the budget since we last met. So Melinda's gonna tell us what those are. So, go ahead, Melinda.
Okay. Since we last met, there has been a significant change. Eddie Sabuildea, the director of juvenile probation, had come to me and actually the judge and I and told us that he was not going to need as much money as he had previously requested in his budget. And previously, he had requested $538,281. And he was able to reduce that by, to the amount of $458,337. And that's a difference of about $80,000. So, that was a big surprise. Happy surprise, but we were real happy about that because he was able to do that. So in his budget, so in doing that, that reduces the overall budget. So
And that's I don't want to interrupt you, but that is we approved his budget last Thursday at a juvenile board meeting. So, I mean, it's a done deal. It's not like he was thinking about giving us the money back or whatever. I mean, it's back in there.
Okay,
Okay?
back in the general fund.
I mean, it's in the budget. So the less, the amount that we give him, I mean, it's not that we give it to him, we supplement the juvenile program, the county does. So that.
Just for information's sake, not really budget, but Eddie received a $2.2 million grant to provide some services for juvenile probation, counseling and stuff like that. So he was able to, because of receiving that grant, able to take some of that money. And I don't want to speak for Eddie. I'm assuming that he took some of the money he had earmarked for some of those programs that the grant will actually cover now and was able to give back to us.
Okay. Well, that's a pleasant surprise.
So, in saying that, my words out here. Looking at the, you all had asked me to look at the 2.5%, which I did, and included that also in our budget. But I also looked at the 5%, what the difference would be between the 2.5% and the 5%. And that difference is $95,069.70. And in having the surprise funds, that could also be put towards that difference, which would leave $15,069.70, which is all we would need to look at within the budget. So if you look at the estimated revenues and other sources, this page that I gave you just now, what I've done there is, that's looking at total collections, estimated collections, and estimated expenditures, what we would spend. So the budgeted reserve that we have is $556,093. And the estimated collections are $19,892,914. And the total estimated expenditures are $20,404,502. And overall, now this is all funds, overall, we would end up in the black if we spent 100%. We collected 100% and spent 100%. We would have $44,505. So that's important for y'all to look at.
And that was with what, how much we raised? Did you figure on that one?
I mean, right now, this is just with the 2.5,
Okay.
because that's what you had asked me to put in
All the
your budget.
numbers she's gonna give us today is with the 2.5.
Okay.
The only thing she said, told us about the 5 is what she just told us, that it was $96,000 difference. But none of that is figured in, so all of the numbers that she has produced for us today is based on the 2.5, what we voted on last time. Right, just voted on, agreed on.
Yeah,
So,
Well, will we vote on that again, or is that like it is?
okay. Right now, you're just in discussion.
Okay,
You won't vote on anything until the final hearing in September. That's when you'll approve the budget. So right now, we're still in the, I mean, you can still make changes, you can still, you know, whatever you want to do and need to do, you can still do that. Because it's not final until that final hearing.
Really,
Review.
the timeline we're under right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, is she has to have the salaries set for elected officials so that she can post those in the paper. They have to be on file for how long?
Well, I have to post it and I hadn't gotten to that point yet, but we are still under our effective rate. So because we're under our effective rate, we don't have to have 2 public hearings before September 16th. That's when you would approve the budget and approve the tax rate at that time. So we won't have those hearings. So, but I do have to publish the increases for the elected officials before then. So between, and because the newspaper has changed their publishing, it would either be Friday or Wednesday, the 21st or the 26th is when I would publish it.
when we talked about that before, we had 2 people who was in favor of a raise, 2 people against the raise, so where did that go?
I mean, it's not any different than it
Still
was, Kenny. It's still the same. You're just discussing it. You're just discussing it based on the new information. I felt and the judge felt that it was important that you know that there had been money put back in the budget. So that was important for you all to know.
Okay.
And that's what I was doing.
Nothing has changed from
No.
what we agreed on the
No.
previous meeting,
Okay,
okay? Other than the fact that Eddie gave us money back.
okay,
And and you know, when we first started this thing out, I had it figured at 5%. And
yes,
then we agreed last time, 3-2 for the 2.5.
yes,
And so everything that she has figured is on the 2.5,
okay,
okay?
Mhm.
But actually, I guess a short answer, Kenny, would be, the budget is up for conversation until the September 24th or whatever date we agree on the final budget, so.
if we stay with this 2.5%, like it is, and we post the elected officials' salaries for whatever, what happens on those dates in September if it comes in and the vote changes and we vote to take out, I'm just hypothetically saying, if we vote to take out at 2.5%, we've already posted.
Well, it's a good question.
You know,
Well, it's happened before.
It has.
Yeah, and you were here. It was your first or second year. We
Yeah.
went into
Well, that's
the,
been so far back.
yeah.
With everything, I have to go back and change everything.
Well, I was just, all I'm saying is that we've already posted all of that with,
Well, by law, I have to post
I know.
it, so,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a given, and if it's redone, I have to repost it. So,
I'm just asking the question.
Playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Well,
now,
and it has been done, and she would just have to recalculate and figure it.
I'm good.
Yeah. Huh?
On the raise, I know y'all discussed the 2.5. And I know that the sheriff's department's a different animal from each of y'all's stuff. With the defund the police and everything, I mean, we don't see it on a major scale here, but it is. I've heard the grumblings of a lot of people. You know, it ain't worth it. Especially the jailers that have had to be cooped up with these guys that don't get to see their families and stuff since March. I mean, it's getting worse in the jail, not because of COVID and stuff. It's always bad in there. You always have your certain inmates and stuff. I'm not one to spend money frivolously or anything, but I'd sure like to see some of my long-term employees get 5%. They've been through a lot, and it's hard to keep people in that jail to begin with. And if we can show some appreciation that we care about them and give them 5%, then I would greatly appreciate it if we could. Even to the point, I know a couple of years ago, I don't remember when, we kind of divided it up. If you'd been here over a year, and you got a 5%, if you hadn't been here a year, then you got a 2.5. If we could do something like that to show the appreciation for the long-term employees that's got the experience that we can keep out there. And our deputies too. I mean, we've got most of our deputies have been there 8 years or better, and they've had to put up with a whole lot of stuff during all this. And we've had several cases. I've got one right now that's home with COVID. They've all been great. They've all worked with us. They've stayed away from each other. It's just been a rough year. And if we could show them that we appreciate them and care for them, I would appreciate it. Thank y'all.
okay, the other thing I wanted to say real quick, is based on, what we would need in the, to earn enough money in our ad valorem to, fund the budget. That amount is $11,990,587.
I'm sorry, Melinda, would you write that, say that again?
$11,990,587.
Okay.
Is it on here, Melinda?
No, it's not on.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Well, say that number again, Landon. I'm sorry.
$11,990,587.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And the tax rate that y'all had agreed on was 0.6330, and that is still the same. It has not changed. And that amount is $12,289,276. It's actually $277, I'm rounding up. So, and that's only a 1.5% increase. It's a 1.5 cent increase. And still way under the effective rate. And that's very important that we're way under the effective rate. We're under it by 8 cents. So you have to realize that we would have to jump. I mean, we are very fortunate that we don't have to jump to that effective rate.
All right, I would like to go back to the second sheet here. Under the collections, it shows 19,892,914, right? Well, then it says expenses at 20,404. That's more than what we take out.
But you have to take into consideration the budgeted reserve.
Oh,
Because the
right.
budgeted
556,
reserve is
556,
supplementing
okay.
Yes. And that is due to the fact that the three commissioners, are funding their budget as well as, we're partially funding Fund 11 out of the reserve. And that's big when you're looking at, I haven't gotten to it yet, but that's big when you're looking at our decrease from what it went from last year to this year, that $373,775. That's basically the difference that you're supplementing this year. Otherwise, if you weren't supplementing, we would have to go up to 6,430.
That is a big difference.
It's a huge difference.
So I was gonna reiterate, you guys giving extra and us taking that out of that permanent improvement fund made a huge difference in what we did as far as raising taxes. Because if not, we were gonna have to drop down and raise them a couple more steps below from what we're gonna have to anyway. So,
Well, I'm thankful we had the money to do it.
and the other thing I'd like to reiterate on the permanent improvement fund, you gave us the figures the other day on the driveway or parking lot. And from my calculations or estimation of what we'll have left out of this year's permanent improvement, we'll almost be able to put that 190 back into Fund 11. So even though we're funding it, the reserve for this budget, we're going to be able to put a majority of that money back into that fund. All right, so.
Okay, I guess we're still discussing the budget. So, if you'll go to this sheet that I gave you, the tax levy for 2021, the 2020 total taxable value is $1,789,187,262.
That's a very top line it's on your sheet.
Yes.
So.
And then the tax ceiling, the actual is $219,081,551. And then if you look over to the right, the $963,721, that is actual tax. And that is anyone that's 65 and older, they're locked in. So that's what that amount is right there. And it includes some other things too, but that amount doesn't change unless something else drastically changes.
Unless we sell the property and it goes back to somebody else, I guess.
I mean, something would drastically have to change for that to be different. So, in the middle section, the effective tax rate, which is now known as the no new revenue tax rate, is $12,379,059. And then you have to add the actual tax back into that, and that is $13,342,780. And the effective rate and the notice of hearing limit are the same. And then we've got our rollback tax rate, which is 0.8591. And that amount is $15,292,998. And if you add the actual tax back in, it's $16,256,719. And these are all what they're going to earn if we were at that tax rate. And then I've also included the preceding year's tax levy, which is $11,000,000. $1,301. And then it would be $11,965,022. And then, of course, the decrease in taxable value, which you're all aware of, was $121,230,821. The new improvements went up by $5,285,865, and then there's a decrease of $373,775 in what we did in 2020 versus what we do in 2021. And that's based on what y'all have looked at doing is the 0.6330. And then down at the bottom, this is a statement I have to do by statute. This budget will raise less revenue from property taxes than last year's budget by an amount of $373,775, which is a 0.089733% decrease from last year's budget. The property tax revenue to be raised from new property added to the tax roll this year is $57,850. And that's based on the new improvements. I guess this would be the time to do that, because I do have to know what y'all are gonna do. on that.
Okay, one other thing she has to know is, a few weeks ago, Roland, Ida, and Carla come and asked for a raise for, some of their employees. And, under the way our policy was written in, we complied with what they asked. And so, the question is now for y'all, now Ida's deal sort of worked out where the lady she gave a raise to is leaving or retiring in December. So, and the other lady that she gave the deal to was a promotion. Roland had a lady that was promoted. And then that leaves the individuals that were just given a raise without really a promotion, just the fact that they had stepped up and sort of filled in for some people that either they had an opening or people that were sick and stuff, and they had the funding in their budget to be able to do that. And so we have since changed the policy, but Melinda needs to know what the court wants to do with the individuals that got that money. Does she need to figure their salary with that rate of money that they're being paid now, or at the rate of money that they were originally budgeted to be paid?
I do want to say that, as Judge said, that Ms. Chavez will be leaving in December, retiring. So I would be promoting Monica to my next chief. And the way I justified my person is that they're both cross-training. I mean, I have a new lady, as y'all know, and we will be cross-training as far as Monica learning Margie's desk. Because I don't think y'all realize what the positions entail. I mean, they are. I mean, a lot of detail. We deal with all the county funds. So I'm moving Monica to be my next chief in training. And where I thought of this was that y'all were going to allow Deborah to hire somebody to train under her next year to learn the job. And that's what I'm doing currently with Monica. Ms. C will retire in January. So my budget is not going to increase. So just want to give you heads up on that. My positions will stay the same.
So what is y'all's feelings on what we should do on that?
I didn't like the way that was done. I don't, not that I don't think the people are deserving of those raises, that's not the issue. The issue is it's just not a fair system. I could have done the same thing with my guys. I have a lot of money in my I could do this, anybody could. And I think it's just a bad system, and I think we need to put those raises through the court. So I'd be in favor of putting it back like it was.
But they were put through the court. They were put through the
They
court.
was the way it
And
was,
y'all-
but he's talking about if we're gonna keep that system.
Yeah.
And if we change it,
When
if
you-
you're asking if we
when you
change it, I
had-
would.
When you changed that the other day, the wording that you used was, we will not fund the budget if it doesn't go through court.
Right.
So it did go through court. So,
We're talking about funding the budget. I don't want to explain
I mean, like, what I said is the best explanation I can come up with, you know.
Yes.
I don't really, I mean, it doesn't, it's the court's decision. I mean, there's nothing that says we have to go back or that we have to give it to them. It's basically whatever the court decides they want to do.
And also in that sense, is that y'all have changed the policy effective last quarter. So, the question is, are you gonna allow the employees to keep their increase based on what the old policy stated that we could do? Or are y'all gonna cut them back?
Now, I do want to clarify though, that, and I don't want anybody to misunderstand what I'm saying. Nothing that was done was not above what it could have been done, okay? No one, you know, everything that was done was within the policy that was in place. And so, like I say, I don't want anyone to get the impression that we're saying what was done was not right, because it was in place when it was done.
Yes, and I understand that, Judge. I know it was.
Okay.
And I understand it. I just, you
and
know,
no, I'm sorry, can you go ahead? I'm
No,
sorry.
go ahead.
I just want to say, I don't have a problem if y'all take mine back for the reason of you changed the policy. And I know of other offices that wanted to do the same thing. So I don't feel like it's fair that my employees did it and then other people were going to follow suit, and other people were going to follow suit, but you changed the policy so the other people cannot do it. So, you know, in all fairness to all county employees, you can not fund, you can fund
Appreciate
it the
that,
way
Carla.
it's supposed to be
I
done.
appreciate
next
that.
year. And I don't have a problem with
And I
it.
do feel bad because I haven't spoke with Roland. He's been out.
I have.
Office.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate you saying that, Carla. But I don't know what Roland's feelings would be.
Not the same.
Okay. And so, since you spoke with him, then you know that, but I don't know that. But like I say, that's something we need to decide, because that affects how Melinda will figure the salaries for this coming year.
Look, Judge, you know, it's like I said, I sure don't think those people weren't deserving those raises. I just think it's not a fair system, and we're discussing our budget now for the next year, and whether what raises we want to implement, if any. And, you know, it just puts those people getting a double raise. If we did give a raise at all, it's gonna put I don't feel like it's just fair to everybody else.
See, that's what I was gonna ask. If they keep their raise that y'all gave them, do they get 2.5% when we go into January?
They will, yes. Yes, sir. If it's all employees, unless you did something different.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, what our raise deal has always said is that if you were employed on January 1st of the preceding year and we give a raise, then you're eligible for that raise.
What the media
Yes.
And so all those employees that received their raise through this other deal were all employees as of January 1st of this year. So they would all be eligible for the raise.
But then if we just leave those there and they keep those raises into the next year and they get the 2.5, and the other ones just get the 2.5, and that's not fair to.
Yeah, they've got a 5%.
Yeah. Then that's not fair to the rest of the employees.
And there again, you know, I'm giving consideration to the people in town that I stated before, and you all are very aware of it through this pandemic, and other issues as well. They're struggling, a lot of them are, and I have to consider them too. A lot of them's not gonna get a raise, a lot of them's gonna be very fortunate just to keep their doors open. So that's one of my concerns.
Now, just for full disclosure, like I say, I'm just providing information for y'all to make a decision, okay? But juvenile probation is gonna get a 5% raise. Adult probation got a 5% raise. Melinda has her hearing Friday. I don't know what she's gonna ask for. But there are departments within the county that are gonna get a 5% raise. So, you know, when you say if we cut these people back or don't cut them back, they're gonna end up with a 5% raise. Well, that's already, there are gonna be some county employees that are gonna get a 5% raise, so.
Which I don't think, you know, I know most of those deals fall under, like district judges and all that.
Yeah,
But that's something I've never agreed with since I've been in office. We're still all under the county budget or whatever, so everybody should be treated the same from.
well, you know, adult
They
probation,
are,
you
Oh,
know,
they
they-
have their own funds.
they're technically state employees, but we pay.
Yeah.
Isn't that correct?
Well, we fund juvenile probation, obviously.
No, I
because it
said
gave us
adult
money.
probation.
Adult, no, we do not, Judge.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we do
My
not.
mistake.
I'm sorry.
Well, and I appreciate everybody's concern for their employees, because, you know, I have some of my own,
Well-
and they do a good job for me. I appreciate them, and I certainly understand what the sheriff said out there. He's in a particularly difficult situation right now with the atmosphere we see around the country. And and I do appreciate these people, and the last thing I'd want to defund would be our sheriff's office if we was gonna defund anything. It'd be one of the last things on the list, because I do appreciate these people, and they have a tough job.
And they're the majority of our employees, that department.
I lived in that jail for 3.5 years. It's a whole different world when you call in and who's on the
Well, what concerns me is, you know, I love each and every one of them employees out there. I mean, they do a good job. It's a stressful job. But when you sit back and look at it, if I can't keep the number of correction officers, jailers, whatever you wanna call them, to a certain level, they continue to drop off, then I have to start shipping inmates out because I'm not up to jail standards with the jailer to inmate ratio, which is going to be a huge hit to the county. Because it's one jailer to 48 inmates while they're on shift. So if I don't have a certain amount of jailers there, then I have to start farming out inmates to drop it down, which is gonna be a huge hit, because nobody around here's got any room. I don't look for it to ever get that way, but I was always brought up to expect the worst and hope for the best, so I do look at that every day and make sure that we're on our numbers right. We did 5 interviews Friday. Hopefully today we can hire a few more. I'm about 7 jailers short right now, what I usually keep. And out of those 5, we may get 2. But we're trying, we're doing what we can. I want to keep the ones I've got that we put the time and the money in and the training, that know jail standards, knows how it runs, knows what we can do. Those are the ones I want to really keep and appreciate to have trained other ones.
Okay, I'm gonna say something here. I can see Ken's point very clearly, but I also know this, that whatever money we give these employees, it goes back into the economy. If you give them 2.5, they're gonna spend the money. If you give them 5%, they're gonna spend the money. So it's all gonna go back into the local economy. And we saw this evidence with those stimulus checks coming out with the federal government. As soon as they hit, man, they spent them. And so you know, I'm for, you know what we can afford. Because I know it's gonna go back in
And Jimmy, on, as far as what the raises we gave, Roland and Carlos, employees, what you're feeling on what we should do on that?
Well, we went through court on that and passed that, not realizing what happened. But I think it ought to go back like it was. And then we start everybody new January 1st.
Harold? So does that give you what you need?
So it'll read all of you, or they're saying they.
There's a consensus that we'll go back to what they were making.
Yes,
They'll continue to receive the raise that they were given until the end of the year.
yes.
And then they'll go back and receive whatever raise we decide to give to all employees.
Right.
Okay. I'm not gonna name employees, but I just wanna say that there are 2 people that will get their year raise. So that's where they'll start with the, and they'll get the increase, because we can't take that away, that's not,
Right. Yeah,
that's
let's
not
do it for
included
6 months and
in
then 1 year.
anything extra. So I just wanted y'all to be aware of that, theirs will be based off of that, once
the
they
new-
receive that year raise.
And the new policy says that if they're if we promote within or give the raises that they got coming this, well, whether we choose to give it to them the 6 months or year raise,
Right.
Yeah.
that's
The
different
normal
than,
raises
yeah.
in the policy.
Okay, let me write that, let me get that right before we go forward.
David, can I say one more thing about, you know, and Kenny, I do appreciate what you're saying, you know, and I appreciate you listening to what we have to say too. But I can tell you that when I have an open position, Latrice had an open position that she ran an ad for. When we used to get 20 to 30 applications, we got 10. And like David said, maybe 3, maybe 4 will be even interviewable, you know, and, you know, not for any other reason other than they met none of the qualifications. They were just trying to meet the unemployment, you know, that they applied for a job and everything. And so, you know, we're kind of running into that, and our salaries aren't, that they don't start out great. I mean, they start out so much better than they used to, but compared to the banks, compared to the city, you know, we're not in competition. Our offices are not in competition with that. So it's real hard, and it's a lot like David. You know, the jailers, for what they do, their salary, I mean, that stinks. I wouldn't do it for that salary. And I think that's what David runs into. But I think they've always ran into that. You know, so to give a 5% raise and not be hit, you know, I don't think the public's gonna be upset by it, because of the fact that the government is still, Hale County government is still running very efficiently, you know, on that way. So, you know, I just really ask you to strongly reconsider that, you know, that.
And as Jimmy said, I mean, when our employees make more money, when we make more money, we're gonna spend more money. We're gonna go within our community and we're gonna spend it. And we're gonna go to those businesses that may be suffering. And, you know, I mean, that's what we're trying to do now, because we don't wanna lose more than we already have here.
Well, I certainly understand what both of you are saying. I mean, my wife and I employ quite a few people ourselves, and some of them are really pretty good paying jobs.
Right.
And we still have trouble getting enough people to fill it, so I do understand that.
And I do want you to know that I am gonna request it from my staff. Because I will have the funds in my budget.
Can we take about 5 minutes? I need to
Sure.
step outside, so. We'll be back, we'll stand in recess